Hi there again. Today we're going to take a look at one of my students from Beijing, Miss Wang. We can use this video as an example of the online golf lessons we offer on this website. So if you send me a couple of your swing videos, both from down the line and face on, this is what we can do for you. We can take a look at the current swing, make some suggestions as to how you can improve that, do some comparisons to other tour players, and also monitor your progress as we go along and give you some exercises and drills. So what you're going to see in this video is essentially what the lessons that we offer are. Now, to give you a bit of background on this lady, she's been playing golf for 6 or 7 years. She tells me that she hits the ball to the right most of the time. She tends to hit the ground behind the ball when she plays on the course, and that's obviously going to cause her to lose distance with a poor impact. And when I was watching her hit golf balls, she often hits the middle of the ball as well and doesn't hit the ground at all. So those two faults tend to indicate she has a hard time finding the bottom of her swing. She tends to be shallow into the ball. Also suffers from lack of distance, but that's a lot to do with a reduced amount of club head speed. But she does have some interesting moves in this swing, and one that we've worked on for the last month or so, and we're starting to make progress. But you've got to realise, when you've played golf for 6 or 7 years, some of these moves are quite ingrained and take a little while to actually change. So there's no short-term success without a little bit of uncomfortable changes initially. So anyway, let's look at this swing. We've got here on the left is Miss Wang. You see her upper body posture's perhaps a little bit upright. Her arms are slightly inverted towards her body. Knee flex looks quite good here. On the right we have Aaron Baddeley, one of my favourite swings on tour. So the upper body is tilted a little bit more forward. I like the arms to hang slightly forward or vertical, not vertically straight down or a little bit inverted, and a nice amount of knee flex. Now we'll also take a look at this swing a little later from the front view, but for the time being we'll go with the down the line. And we've got our standard lines in: top of the head, along the front, the back of the butt, and the front of the knees. Now, the way that this tour player Aaron Baddeley begins his backswing is really quite nice. The upper body is rotating, the arms, the club and the hands are all moving together. So if we look at this point here, when Aaron is club shaft would be parallel to the ground, a couple of things to notice: the position of the club head relative to the hands, and also the alignment of the club face, which should see the toe of the club slightly over from the heel. I don't like the toe of the club to be vertical. I like the toe of the club to be more parallel to the spine, so through here. Well, that to me is a square club face. Now, if we take a look at Miss Wang as she starts her takeaway, I want you to notice what the arms do, and along the back of the butt line here on this red line. So the first movement is right here. So her hands and arms have really moved out away from her body this way. So the arms have somewhat separated away from her body. She's pushed well out behind this red line as her head's lowered down a little bit. Now, I discovered through asking her a series of questions, the first question I asked her was, is she trying to or attempting to get the club to move directly down the target line away from the ball? But that looks like what she's trying to do, and in fact the answer to that question was yes. So she'd been told previously that the club head should travel along a straight line away from the ball. Now that's not what we want. That's not what good players are doing. The club moves in and up away from the target line, but in an attempt to get that club to initially start back straight, which she appears to be trying to do, the arms disconnect away from her body. So that we've got a real issue here with the distance the arms have moved out. You see something very different here with Aaron Baddeley's swing on the right. I believe the reason she pushes her hips back and gets really quite far behind the original red line is because her arms have disconnected, and I think she pushes her hips back to remain balanced. The other big issue here for Miss Wang, she said to me earlier, she hits the ball usually to the right. That's a common fault. Well, I think if we look at this position right here, we'll understand why she's doing that. This club face is extremely open. Now when we look at her swing from the front view, you'll notice she does have what we call a weak grip, where the left wrist is sort of flat, the thumb is very much down the middle, the right hand is pushed too far over to the left, so that's typically what causes this very open club face position. So initially she's got arm separation, left arm separates from the body, the club head's trying to go back straight from the ball, it's not really doing that, and then the club here is very underplane and the face of the club is, really open. You need something very different here with Aaron. It talked about earlier the alignment of the club face, this more of a square position, but also the position of the shaft, sort of midway back, completely opposite for what Miss Wong's done here in the initial takeaway. So that's one area of concern. That's something we've definitely looked at, trying to improve her grip, her initial takeaway, keeping that club head more in front of her hands and the club shaft a little bit more upright in the backswing. Now if she gets the club shaft a little more upright, which we're still working on with her, what we'd like to see is the hands finish the backswing somewhat on this top shoulder plane line from address, so right there. And you'll notice with Miss Wang, as she goes further into her backswing, her arms don't really come up very much, they stay very low. The hands are barely above the original shaft plane. Now, when I see golfers doing that, the question I then asked her was, what's she trying to do with her right arm? And the answer she gave me was she's trying to keep this arm, the right arm, very tucked in, close to the body, keep the elbow close to the body. And also, we don't see it from this side, but what the right elbow is doing there, in fact, is also it gets really deep in behind her body. So from the face-on view, you almost see the right elbow on the other side of her body. So to her left, the right elbow has just gone too far back. So let's describe this as a flat, underplane backswing with a very flat arm swing, one which the left arm is really obviously flatter or underneath her shoulder plane. You see here with Aaron on the right, the left arm is above the shoulder plane. So the reason she gets into this position at the top is really to do with the way she starts the takeaway and where she is halfway back, and the top of the swing is just a progression on from that. So what I've had her doing, worked on a grip, we've worked on trying to get those arms a little bit forward or vertical, so slightly away from her body here. And then, like Aaron's doing here, as she rotates the core of her body, club shaft and club head work up in front of the body. And the main issue, in my opinion, with this swing is the alignment of the club face. If we can get her grip and club face square, as opposed to this drastically open position, we really make some good progress in where the shaft plane is, where the top of the swing is. Okay, now we'll turn around and take a look from the front line view, the face-on view.